The media narrative nationally the last couple of weeks has been that there's now a top three of the former vice president and Senators Sanders and Warren. Do you buy that, or are you part of that top tier?
Well, of course I'm part of the top tier, and we all know that. And this is a campaign that has to be about each person working hard and earning the support. I plan on earning the support of each and every voter.
The media narrative nationally the last couple of weeks has been that there's now a top three of the former vice.
Kamala Harris, whether she buys it or not, perhaps her campaign didn't show the polling on it. Perhaps she wasn't watching television. Perhaps she hasn't opened today's paper or Twitter posts or Facebook posts and seeing what this guy is kind of making his point about within the context of the question itself. Do you accept the media narrative that you're no longer part of the top tier? This is one of those questions that the very fact that the question is being asked gets across to some degree that the person believes that you are not necessarily part of the top tier. Kamala Harris perhaps didn't see those polls. And the wild part about this is, despite what Kamala Harris says, no, despite what she insists is not the reality of things, her donors aren't buying it. And herein lies the problem. Kamala Harris is in a desperate situation to convince her donors that she is part of the top tier. And if she can't do that tonight, and if her performance doesn't improve, her investors are planning on walking. Kamala Harris is in a desperate situation. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, you find yourself coming back here often, please like this video, share this video, and of course, you can always subscribe. This channel is growing. We're almost at 25,000. Also, if you really dig this content, please consider supporting this content through PayPal or Patreon. This show is brought to you by you. It's not that I love saying this off every video. It's kind of just part of for the course at this point. So yeah, Kamala Harris is not in the best of situations politically. I mean, ultimately, your donors is part of a large part of many of these campaigns. And if the donors are complaining, if the donors are talking about walking, oh, you are in problems. Kamala Harris is trying to insist that she is a top tier candidate. So why is this guy asking her if she considers herself a top tier candidate? It's because of polling like this. New Hampshire, Democratic primary, Harris X. Real poll. Biden, 22%. Sanders, 21%. Warren, 15%. Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, 6%. Kamala Harris, 5%. Oh, that burns. Why does that burn so much? It burns so much because of this. Any person that watched that last debate saw this. The outright
Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response?
That's brutal. And that right there, that broadside, took Kamala Harris's campaign down. And by the way, there's more. Tulsi Gabbard, Kamala Harris had no defense for this. In fact, she had no excuse for this. And she just said, I'm proud of my record. I want to go back to Tulsi Gabbard for this because she goes back to a point in this video that is so grotesque. This right here, 60 seconds, ended Kamala Harris's campaign.
In a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the form a system that is former criminal justice, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so.
Listen to the audience. The audience is groaning. They're groaning. She detailed absolutely factually true information about your record within 30 seconds, distillation. And that distillation was enough to essentially crater your campaign because you'd had no answers, no excuses for what she just introduced. Campaign ended. Do you realize at one point Kamala Harris was in number 3 position after the first debate? Not anymore. Let's look at some more polling. Is she indeed a top tier candidate? Well, here we are. Again, 6%. Buttigieg is at 6%. Booker is only 2 points away from her. Gabbard in this point has 2%, but still, she's nowhere near the top. How about another one? Here's another poll. Here's multiple polls. Sanders, Warren, Kamala Harris behind Buttigieg in Iowa. Kamala Harris 7% in New Hampshire behind Buttigieg. Kamala Harris 6%. Again, ahead of Buttigieg in this one, but still at 6%. South Carolina 7%. This does not a top tier candidate make. And what is the problem with this? Investors who are putting their money into Kamala Harris, they have to believe they can get a return on their investment. Well, you can't get a return on your investment if the candidate doesn't win. And if this person is lurking around the bottom aspects of the political space, then it doesn't necessarily look like they're going to win, in which case those investors don't see the point in burning money on the White House lawn, which is for all intents and purposes what they would be doing if they continue to put money in Kamala Harris when they can look at polling like this. They have eyes. They have eyes. They're not insane. They're rich. They want to expand their riches, but they don't want to dump it into a candidate that's polling at 6%. If they don't believe, if they don't have a stern, honest, earnest belief that Kamala Harris is going to be able to turn this around, then they are not going to see a point in dumping money into that same Kamala Harris. NBC News is reporting that is in the case true. Big money donors consider staying away from Kamala Harris if she fails to perform at the next debate. That's the one that's taking place tonight. Senator Kamala Harris's top donors, including those that have contributed or opened their network to her, are privately acknowledging that if she doesn't perform well on Thursday, that she could start losing the support of wealthy financiers. In discussions with donors and those close to lead financiers, there is a growing consensus that the California lawmaker needs to have a strong outing against the 9 contenders if she wants to maintain their alliance with big money donors that have donated to multiple campaigns, including hers. Because keep in mind, they hedged their bets. It's not dumping a bunch of money into one campaign. You dump money into all of the campaigns, in which case you don't really care all that much who wins per se. It's more so you have influence in all of the campaigns. In the case where one isn't doing well, you remove the money from it. You still have the money invested in the other campaigns. All the other campaigns, I would imagine, except for Sanders, because Sanders doesn't take money from big money donors. Everyone else does or will. While she only raised $12 million in the second quarter, Harris came into the race being considered by donors both on Wall Street and within their industries as a preferred alternative to former Vice President Joe Biden. Out of all the money she's raised throughout the first half of the year, $14 million or 56% came from large individual contributions, according to Nonpartisan Center for Responsive Politics. Many of the type of donors saw her as an up-and-coming star with moderate policy proposals. For some, she's still in favor. But for others, the contest in Houston is being considered a pivotal opportunity for Harris to regain the confidence of the money class and solidify her position against Biden after disappointing second debate. The debate that I just showed you where she got taken apart by Tulsi Gabbard. You know, after being taken apart by her, she goes down and just starts smearing and slandering Tulsi Gabbard, calling her an inside apologist. And laments, oh, this person only has like 2% in the polls. Well, I hate to tell you this, Kamala, but under this notion of a top-tier candidate, Gabbard is beating you in New Hampshire. Gabbard is beating you in New Hampshire. Yeah, that's all. I just thought this was an interesting story. Candidates are being bought. And in this case, they're like, hey, look, we're going to stop putting money into you. Yes, we like the proposals that you're putting forth because we're going to get massively rich off of those proposals also. And you would stem the tide against Sanders and prevent Medicare for all from ever coming into place. So we like you. But if you're not going to win, there's no point in investing in you. And this is an investment. It's not a donation. It is an investment. We should call it what it is. And we see no point in doing so if you can't win. Or at the very least, we don't believe you have a pathway to victory. Aren't you tired of that? And I'm talking about you as the American voter. Aren't you tired of that? You have the donor class essentially saying, yeah, we're not going to continue to buy you if you're not going to perform. We're not going to continue to invest in you if you're not going to perform. That makes all the sense in the world. I'm getting more so to the point of the buying thing, the investing thing. They're putting money into candidates because they're going to get something back in return when the candidate gets into office. Why aren't you tired of that? One candidate in the race is not accepting big money in this way. Every other candidate is either accepting it or will accept it once they get out of the primary. If these guys are putting money into the candidates, why don't you believe there's strings attached? Why don't you believe that? Wouldn't it be the most logical thing in the world for somebody that has a large amount of means to invest in certain candidates that would ensure that their means stay that way, and to prevent other candidates that may put into policies that may adversely affect their means? My point is, why are you okay with your democracy or your government essentially being bought? In the candidates, yes. The policies that these guys make adversely affect us. The expropriation of wealth that's allowed is coming through a political space. Yes, there's an economic space, but also the political space allows that to take place. They're buying our candidates. They're buying our government. Why are you okay with this? I guess that's my basic question. This article is reasonable, rational, all that stuff, but it's not written from a perspective of utter shock and horror at big money essentially buying candidates. It's something that we know, yes, and I've argued that that takes place in both parties, Republican and Democratic parties. One rapes, the other rapes while rubbing your hair and telling you you're beautiful. Basically, the difference between the two. Kamala Harris is getting a ton of cash. Those people are effectively buying the candidate. And in so, buying the race. There's one candidate that's not taking that cash. There's only one. I'll leave this here. I don't want to keep this long. Please look at Warren's new healthcare plan, Peace Pro, Elephants on Coke. I've started to look at her healthcare plan. Warren's healthcare plan is, it says Medicare for all. Warren has a policy for everything. It doesn't explain how to get to Medicare for all. And it's almost a throwaway in a healthcare plan. Most of it, a lot of it is trying to fundraise or to get people's emails. It goes into mental health and drug stuff, and some stuff doesn't even make sense. Like, because if she's pushing for Medicare for all, some of the stuff in the policy contradicts it. That's all. I'm going to do a video on Warren's healthcare plan. I have it as number 4 on my list. Just after Warren. Just after Gabbard. So I will. Elephants on Coke. I will. And yeah, it sounds like she's moderated her language on Medicare for all. That's the thing that people are taking issue with. Like for Sanders, we're going to pass Medicare for all. We're going to get it through Congress. We're going to get it through reconciliation. He gives a pathway. He tells you what he wants to do. Warren, it gets into, it's a goal worth fighting for. I'm going to push for this. But it comes across as almost somewhat hollow, especially since there's no kind of clear way, nor does it give this kind of indication that she's signing on to Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All bill. So yeah, problematic to say the least. Anybody else just stop watching Soapbox because Jamal's internet sucks so bad and frustrating? My internet is fine. I think that may be your internet, buddy. That's not me on this one. Mine is rock solid. I think Bernie and Tulsi was a realistic expectation. Bernie, Tulsi 2020, not so much. Screw Warren. Trudy, I agree with you on this one. Warren is butt. What's her billionaire support total so far? So interestingly enough, two things. Warren is working with Hillary Clinton. This is going to help her in the sense of the electoral map, meaning delegates, superdelegates, because superdelegates are still in the race. They're going to be in effect in the second round. And it is very possible that if Sanders doesn't win this outright, they may end up in a second round with Warren taking states, Sanders taking states, and Biden taking states, meaning splitting of the vote. If that happens, Hillary Clinton will be a major asset in getting Warren those votes. Hillary Clinton will also be a major asset in cash. Warren has said she will take all the money in the world, every bit of cash that she can get her hands on. Ergo, Clinton will be that person who can get her that cash. Clinton has all sorts of contacts in regards to raising money, and those contacts will likely be at Warren's disposal, with Clinton vouching for her. Now, Clinton is backing Warren out because Warren backed Clinton in 2016 when, ideologically, Warren would have been expected to vote for Sanders. But again, Warren is a creature of the Democratic Party, neither thing into herself, meaning she may go to the left on some of this stuff, but ultimately is always restrained and is always within the context of the Democratic Party and what that party is. She's a capitalist, and it comes across in her policies. She may want to rein in how bad capitalism gets. However, she's a capitalist to her bones. Yeah. I'll do a video on Warren's healthcare policy. But do you believe that Clinton's association comes without entanglements? Meaning, when Warren gets into the general, her argument up to this point has been she's not taking cash because there are ethical considerations associated with taking cash. Ed Riddell hit her on this, making the point that you didn't have these ethical considerations 8 months ago when you were at these shindigs taking all of this money and talking to these millionaires and billionaires just as much as Joe Biden. Do you believe that these entanglements go away? And ultimately, I don't. If she's going to get certain cash from Clinton's associations, I would believe that those entanglements are just as real as if they were with any other candidate. Meaning, if people in the primary are so skeptical of cash in politics that many of the candidates say, okay, I'm not taking PAC money. Okay, that gets across a certain point of view. That means that for the most part, the Democratic primary and the electorate of that primary does not want their candidates being bought. They realize that there's a certain buying in this process. Even if they can't be in the meeting where they're watching these people talk behind the scenes, they feel it in their bones that their government is being bought. And they are right. It is. So much so that, like I said, candidates say, okay, we're not going to take off. They swear off cash. But the gimmick that Warren is using here in order to get to have her cake and eat it too is, okay, I'm not going to take it in the primaries, but once I get out of the primaries and you guys have nowhere else to go, then yeah, then I'm going to take it. Because then you're not comparing me to Bernie Sanders, you're comparing me to Donald Trump. And you're not going to care as much that I'm taking the cash. Meaning, it's her political gimmick to get her from point A to point B. The entanglements will still be there. And you would still have unwittingly put somebody in a position that they are like every other candidate that has ever run in the Democratic primary that was taking cash. It is a gimmick. It is a gimmick. That's all it is. Walker, well, if no one else is having the problem, I'd say it's you. Yeah, pretty much. I just got here as JT signed off and watching from the beginning. No buffering here. Yeah, that's just you. I can look at my signal. It's all green. It's your internet. That's not me. That's just you. All right, I'm going to end this here. Like, share, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal, Patreon. Yes, I don't trust Warren. I think that comes across very clearly. She's splitting the vote. And I don't begrudge anybody for voting for Warren per se. People have all sorts of reasons why they vote for a particular candidate. It is not for me to say that a person shouldn't vote for all sorts of reasons. But for people who are voting on policy, Warren is an echo, and is an untrustworthy echo, because she is, for all intents and purposes, a shapeable factor by the party. And that has been shown in one situation after the next. This gimmick that is being used here to get it from point A to point B, the back channel association with Hillary Clinton, that in and of itself should draw red flags. The not standing up for Standing Rock while self-identifying as a Native American. She did not stand up for you, but she want you to stand up for her. And the not supporting Sanders. And then immediately after the primary saying they rigged it, and then a few days later they didn't rig it. Like, all of this breeds a certain degree of distrust to me. And that's not even the voting for the military budget thing. And never touching foreign policy. Never touching foreign policy. I'll leave this here. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in a few. Thanks all.